Okay, let's look at this discussion board question together. Now, the only thing that we really need to do in this discussion board is just to graph these two lines and state whether it's inconsistent, consistent, or dependent. Okay, so let's look at this one. Now, in order to graph any of these lines, you only need 2 points. So let's look at our first equation. You can pick any number for x or any number for y and solve to get the x or y that goes with it. So let's just pick a couple of x's and a couple of y's. Ones that are really easy to do are typically x equals to 0, then solve for y, and y equals to 0 and solve for x. And this one, just due to the nature of the problem, let's go ahead and show what happens whenever we let x equal to 0. So in our first equation, whenever x equals to 0, we have 4 times 0 plus 2y equals to negative 2. This goes away completely, leaving me with 2y equals to negative 2. So if we divide both sides by 2, we get y equals to negative 1. So my first point here is 0, negative 1. Now, because of the way this is set up, if we plug in 0 for y, we're going to end up getting a fraction. And so let's pick a different number for our second point. Let's say x is equal to 1. That's give me another easy one. We have 4 plus 2y equals to negative 2. Subtract 4 from both sides. We have 2y equals to negative 6. Divide by 2. And we have y equals to negative 3. So my second point here is 1, negative 3. Now let's move on to our second line, and let's pick 2 points for our second line that will graph these two lines and see what happens. So let's say x equals to 1. And because I've done these so many times, I'm able to kind of look and see what would be a good number. But you can do trial and error. Just pick any number for x and solve for y, or pick any number and solve for x. And you can get your points that way. Just remember that all you need is 2 points. We have 5 plus 4y equals 5. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides. We get 4y equals to 0. So this means that y is going to be equal to 0 because 4 times the number is 0. That number must be 0. So we have a point 1, 0. Now let's pick another number for x or for y. And I'm going to let y equal to 5. The reason why I do this is because let's see what happens. We have 5x plus 20 equals to 5. So we subtract 20 from both sides. We get 5x equals to negative 15. Now see, if you can make a note that whatever number is going to be right there, you're going to have to end up dividing by it. So try to pick a number for your y that would cause this number to be something that's divisible by 5. That kind of helps when you're picking your numbers. So x equals to negative 3. So as my second point is negative 3, 5. Now let's graph these two lines and see what happens. Okay, so here we have our points. Let's graph our first one. 0, negative 1. 0, negative 1 means we're going to go down 1. That'll be my first point. 1, negative 3. 1, negative 1, 2, 3. We have a second line. 1, 0. Negative 3, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now my graph does not do any justice, but these two are not going to they're eventually going to intersect at some point. Because they're not parallel. I know that my graph kind of looks like that, but if you're using a real graph paper, you'll see that these lines are not parallel, therefore they're actually going to intersect at one point. When they intersect at one point, this means that it is consistent. Okay, let's look at another example.